Today we're going to go over urinary incontinence. So this is something that I hear a lot about, mostly from women, because it is way more common for females to experience urinary incontinence. But men do also experience urinary incontinence, so it is important for everyone to understand the different types that we have out there. There are really three types of urinary incontinence. The first one is urgency, and that is when you have the urgency to go to the restroom. Say you put your key in the door and you're like, oh my God, I need to go pee immediately. That is called urgency incontinence. Our second one is called stress incontinence. This is kind of more of the typical one that we hear about, and that's when you're sneezing or coughing, laughing, jumping, lifting really heavy loads like you may see with power lifters, and some leakage happens during those points. That is when your system has been stressed to a point where that sphincteric control over a pelvic floor no longer operates to its optimal function. Our third one is a mix of the two. And so you have both urgency and you have stress. And that's typically what I see most in the clinic. Our second form of incontinence is stress incontinence. Now, I see this a lot with my postpartum moms. I also see it with my athletic community. And so this is when you're laughing, you're sneezing, you're coughing, and maybe doing double unders or running, and you're experiencing some leakage down below. So what is really happening is that the sphincteric control of our urethra is not optimally working. So what we usually do with stress incontinence is assess the pelvic floor function and its coordination. And is it too strong, or is it too weak? Or is it a combination of the two? So usually when, say, you're doing a heavy load and you have some leakage, you've hit a threshold, or what I call the red line. So you've gone over the red line of what your pelvic floor can maintain to keep that sphincteric control for the urethra and decrease your urine from kind of coming out. We usually then try to work below that red line and build up some more strength and resiliency within the pelvic floor so that that threshold starts to increase each time. Now, if you're experiencing urinary incontinence during a physical activity and you're early postpartum, or you're just experiencing it before you even had babies, definitely know that this is common, but not normal, and you should seek help from a pelvic floor physical therapist. Our third form of urinary incontinence is that mixed form, the most common that I see. You both have urgency, that sense that I really need to go to the bathroom, and the stress. So when you sneeze or cough, you're having some leakage. What we typically do is we take the low-hanging fruits first. So if the urgency is very easily managed by maybe changing some habits, some visualization, saying, I don't need to go to the restroom right now until you get your pants around your ankles and you're sitting on that toilet. That's when you go to the restroom. And then with the stress, we kind of manage that a little bit later, trying to figure out where those thresholds are or where the red lines are that are causing you more incontinence. So first we address the urgency, and then we address the stress. Or we do it vice versa, depending on what you're asking your body to do. If you want to be able to run after your kids and not have to wear a pad every day, then we work on your stress incontinence, and we kind of add in those urgency things of retraining your bladder on to hold a little bit more urine and decrease the sensations or your brain telling yourself to go to the restroom. So next time you're experiencing some type of urgency, seek help from a pelvic floor PT, because you're not alone, and it definitely doesn't have to be your lifelong symptom. So ways that you can help improve your urinary incontinence, just because it's normal or common doesn't make it so you have to suffer. We break them down by understanding which type of urinary incontinence you have. So we'll begin with urgency. That is the key in the door. You're like, oh my goodness, I need to use the restroom. So a lot of that has to happen with behavioral or habits that we kind of put into our pelvic floor and into our bladder, which is this guy right here. If we have that, just in case I need to go to the bathroom, we're programming our bladder to think that it needs to go to the restroom every hour, every 2 hours. When we can retrain the muscles within our bladder and our pelvic floor to be able to maintain and hold and have a little bit more resiliency with that. So first we work on things like a bladder diary. We figure out how much fluid you are taking in throughout the day. If there's any foods or fluids that seem to make you have to go to the restroom more, is there any times of day, if you're more tired, or if you're on your cycle, that are affecting if you're having more incontinence during that time. By understanding your habits with urgency incontinence, you can start adapting those to decrease your symptoms and over time create more resiliency in your pelvic floor.